Hugging it out with Casey.
Casey.
Okay, then.
So check out this.
Do you have unlimited data?
Yeah.
Dude, just mobile hotspot it.
You know what's funny is that it doesn't work all the time. Like it pops up automatically. I switch this thing on and off, and when it becomes an option, I take it.
Right.
Let's see. Oh, look at the. You see the Spotify playlist I made?
I love it.
Walk the Dinosaur is the only song on there.
I love it.
Okay, and all right. Anyway, business time. Okay, let me change this background.
Oh, we're recording?
Yeah, we are. I'm sorry.
Dude, I love the fact that you were the one that was glitching. It was like the greatest. The meme. That was the meme.
Yeah.
Is that we're pretending it's everyone else.
Dude, speaking of meme, check this one out. That's the background right there. So I haven't heard from that guy in a long time. He kind of dropped out and bounced.
Which is fine.
That's fine. Yeah, he's a weirdo.
But anyway. So yeah, this MKUltra stuff. So psilocybin.
What is it?
Psilocybin?
Psilocybin?
Yeah.
What is that?
1 second.
Oh. Oh shit, really?
I wasn't saying anything bad. Just about MKUltra.
Oh. Are they still there?
Yeah. No, they left.
Oh, cool.
But anyway, psilocybin is the mold or the fungus or whatever that grows on like wheat. I mean, we're obviously going to go into not into like the minutia of everything, but like if we're going for LSD to be created, like that's the mold that grows on the wheat, whatever, which potentially caused all of those like fits of mass hysteria in the Middle Ages and all that stuff. What is crazy to me, next level craziness, is that like these things were not things that we like just came up with, which is through my research, I thought that like the federal government just came up with it just randomly. No, this is stuff that we took from like, you know, our rocket program we stole from the Nazis, right?
Yeah.
Our psychotropic program and our mind control program we took from the Japanese.
Yeah.
We inherited all of that.
Yeah.
And dude, like when you hear about the horrors in the back end of what the Japanese were doing to people, oh my goodness.
That's actually something I wrote down like I want to talk about. Especially this one thing, the experiment they did on people with radiation.
Mm-hmm.
There was this dude, they wanted to prolong his radiation exposure as long as they could. And there's graphic pictures on the web. If viewer, you want to Google that. I'm not going to show you. My computer's slow, first of all. But his fucking skin fell off. Oof. And he's just it's nasty.
Blistered. Like a hot dog that's been in the sun.
He looks raw, exactly. He just looks raw. His skin is all off and he's just screaming in pain. Just excruciating. It's horrible. It's so bad. Oh, and speaking of one last thing, sorry. The most fucked up movie of all time is this movie called The Men Behind the Sun. And there's this one scene where they had this Japanese girl. They dip her hands in liquid nitrogen, boiling water, liquid nitrogen, boiling water. And then they just deglove her. And so she has like skeleton hands like this. And there's this another part where they put this guy in like a pressure chamber. and like he swells up and his like guts come out, and like the special effects. This is like a 30-40-year-old movie now, and the special effects hold up.
Dude,
Most
that's hard.
movie I've ever seen in my life. The worst part about it, it's a true story.
Oh yeah.
It's a true story, and that's the worst part about it, is this weird arm thing just now. Yeah. The Japan, they did some insane shit.
Look, I mean, if we're going to talk about the Japanese, like the atrocities that they did and that they committed, comparable to what the Nazis were doing. Like you look at what they were doing in Nanking.
Yeah.
Like there's like the whole fact that we don't hear the phrase "the rape of Nanking" ever, which is like what?
That is the most like atrocious name for something I've ever heard in my life. Like,
right.
Whatever.
Have you done any research on it?
Minimal.
Dude, it's bad. It's really bad.
You might have to remind me because I got my wires crossed here. I know I've read up on that before. So
it's like when the Japanese came in and originally took over like Manchuria and stuff, they, and I'm going to give you a summarized version. A lot of this might be wrong. I'm not a licensed historian. I'm an amateur historian, which is fine. But anyway, like they were in like Nanking in China and Manchuria or whatever, and they were like, dude, gang rapes, killing, like throwing babies up and spearing them on samurai swords, like bad stuff. Like you can think of like the Holocaust, which it's like, it's weird because it's like you think of the Holocaust and you just have this image. I think everyone has the same image of gray, everyone in trench coats, all that stuff. And then like you think of this, it's so like barbaric. It feels like it's like in like the 1400s, 1300s, medieval Europe, all that kind of stuff.
Right.
And it is so bad. And I mean, like, again, overly summarizing it, it is a very bad point in history that the Japanese committed so many atrocities, which is why everyone in Asia, well, I mean, this is a generalized statement, and I try to stay away from it, but like a lot of the countries in Asia do not like the Japanese. They do not like the Japanese.
I've heard.
I mean,
hearsay. I've heard.
We've been new.
We've been new. Little birdie told me.
But like, after that tangent, like to get us back on track, the whole reason that we had like we inherited these projects are from the byproducts of these like horrible, atrocious things that the Japanese were doing.
Right, and you brought up the Nazis, and I just want like Project Paperclip. That and it's such a weird thing to say, but we, these Nazi scientists, they helped us out, and it's an uncomfortable thing. But what scares me though is like you have this racism, this white supremacy that exists in this country, and it's very inherent. It's very just embedded in the government system, and this is a baseless conspiracy theory. I'm going to throw it out there. It just seems interesting that Project Paperclip wasn't that long ago, and racism and white supremacy is such a huge issue in the government.
Right.
It's weird, right? Like,
right.
Arguably one of the worst places in the world in terms of that.
Mm-hmm.
Suspicious.
Well, it's like I've read a lot of studies that like, well, the fact that the United States did these things knowingly post Nuremberg trials, like kept Nazi scientists safe, kept these Nazi scientists safe to push ahead on these things, like trials on their own citizens. Like it's like the same thing. Like, you know, Nazi scientists helped develop the atom bomb too.
Yeah.
You know, like these things that, you know, the Nazis never really stopped waging war on us, if you think about it.
No.
And in ways that they've impregnated their ideology into our country.
The biggest neo-Nazi population, and they're called neo-Nazis. They're legitimately Nazis, you know, and they're currently at this very moment waging wars in our streets. So yes, that's safe to say. What I find interesting is World War II and the Cold War, because, you know, MKUltra picked up just after World War II. Throughout the Cold War,
Did you upgrade it?
running out of time? We've moved the 40-minute time limit. We've gone over 40 minutes before. I don't know why it's saying that. Anyway,
They must have a server issue.
yeah, I think I do. It's still recording. We're good. That's all I care about. Anyway, World War II, MKUltra picked up after that, around the time of Project Paperclip. Happened throughout the Cold War, you know, with Russia, who was fighting the Nazis as well. And I find that so interesting that, like, World War II and the World War II technically, like, officially ended in the early 90s when something was signed. I don't remember what it was. Something was signed. And it officially ended World War II. And the Cold War around the same time.
Mm-hmm. And
this whole time there were these experiments, MKUltra, during the Reagan era. And before that, just from what I can read from the URL, the Nazi Eagle thing, I think I've seen that. That's so on the nose. Like, there's
dude, there is no hiding it. So Jess and I have, like, the people that we know that are very right leaning. One second. I just got a message from my boss.
Oh.
We've thought about, like, editing the Nazi Eagle one and putting the American flag where the swastika is, and, like, making the shirt, and then they'll be like, "Oh, this is a cool shirt." This is cool.
Yeah.
Oh. But yeah, man. Yeah, it's right on the nose, though. And the fact that they tried to pass that off. Well, I mean, it's even facing the same way.
And here's the thing. It goes along with everything we've seen right now. They're just waving it in front of our faces, knowing we can't do anything about it.
Right.
And who knows? Like, maybe they're not even Nazis. Maybe they're not even racist. They just know that we hate it. So they're just, like, trying to trigger us, so to speak.
Yeah, trolling on us.
And that's fucked up. And I wouldn't put it past anyone to do that. But in any case, the fuck is wrong with you?
Right, like, come on. Get your stuff together, guys. I mean, but, like, anyway, back to, like, the MKUltra stuff. It's like, you think about it, and when we inherited all of these things from the Nazis, all the problems that came along with that, and the fact that the government was culpable in these things that were, like, you know, waging war on their own citizens, and that they justified it because they said, oh, the Russians are doing it too, and the British are doing it too. But, like, I mean, in the fact that nobody's, like, really up in arms about this, like downwinders too. Like, you think about downwinders, like, no one's mad about that, and we can't sue them, and they say, oh, you can't sue me. And I'm like, wait, what? Why can't we do that?
And that generation, and even our generation, we get, like, cancer, autoimmune diseases, especially in this region of America. It's most common. And my mom and dad have both talked about this. they were kids. My dad told me a time where they would take field trips to go look at the mushroom cloud.
Oh my gosh.
And I'm like, how are you alive right now? I know that a lot of your friends aren't, not to get dark, but like that's so messed up. I mean, they didn't know any better, but
They
we,
did.
we didn't. The citizens didn't.
Right.
They did.
But any scientist, like, I mean, they knew.
Yeah.
Dude, did you hear like the British to test like how much like a ship could withstand in the ocean of like an atomic bomb?
Oh,
They detonated. I shared that video with you, right?
is that the big plume of water?
Yeah.
That was one of the
And like,
craziest they were saying.
and all the guys were like, it felt like hell. Like they were like, it legitimately felt like hell on earth.
Mhm.
But anyway, like back on this, like the fact that we did things like this, where like, let's look into this. Some of the things that we were doing.
Real quick on the Russian, this just reminded me of this, the Russian and radiation thing while you're looking for that.
Mhm.
A few days ago, the Russians declassified footage of the Tsar Bomba. It was the largest nuclear bomb ever detonated. And you know how batshit crazy the Russians are. We all know. It was so intense that it scared them. Shortly after, they signed the treaty to dismantle their nukes. Apparently, okay, so the footage is it. My mind can't wrap my head around it. They're like tiny, like mountains, like full-on mountains. They look like this big on the screen. This big, like plume of smoke just goes off the screen, and it just like apparently the nuke reached 43 miles in the sky. Just the explosion. People 60 miles away got third-degree burns. People in Sweden and Denmark, the shockwave shattered their windows. And let's see, and this was at the upper Russian peninsula connecting to like the North Pole.
The Black Sea and all that stuff.
Right. So Sweden, Denmark, Norway, they're like right here. That's a good, I don't even know. It's really far away.
Yeah, and Finland's right there too.
Right. Their windows were shattered. And villagers like 100 miles away, their huts were obliterated. And anyway, it was bigger than they anticipated. It was 50 megatons of TNT. And I saw a chart, and I want to find it. I want to share it while I'm talking about this. So the Hiroshima bomb. Just for comparison, the most recent Beirut explosion, like so chilling, just so insanely like massive, and it doesn't even come close to the Hiroshima bomb. Like not even close in terms of like size. And let's see. And
yeah, that stuff was actually released 3 days ago.
Yeah, so it was very recent. So, oh, that's not the right one. That's Castle Bravo, right here. Castle Bravo, the biggest nuke America ever detonated, and it totally wiped out an entire island in I believe it was the Virgin Islands. I'm not entirely sure.
It was an atoll in the sea. Yeah.
Bikini Atoll, that's what it was. Hiroshima's right here, and this is the Tsar Bomba. So just for perspective, this bomb was big enough to scare the shit out of Russia.
That takes a lot.
Yeah, that says something.
Like to scare Russia.
Yeah. Anyway, back to what we were talking about.
Like, anyway, that's terrible.
It's scary because they're still capable. We're more capable now,
Well, and like you think about it, like the fact that like they definitely have a few of those just laying about.
Because it's Russia, they didn't actually dismantle their bombs. Neither did we.
Neither did we.
Nobody did that.
Like we're not stupid. We're gonna say, yeah, we're not gonna use them.
Like our fingers crossed behind our back. Like, yeah, sure, as we're signing.
Dude, That's scary. That's why like sometimes progress scares me. Like doing a callback to our AI thing. Like progress scares me sometimes.
Oh yeah.
To what end are we progressing? To our own end is what it is.
Right. And Elon Musk, I don't know if you saw that thing where he put
The
that
Neuralink,
plant, yeah, in the pig, and that's kind of
which
interesting.
I'm pretty sure that's inhumane.
It's definitely a moral and ethical gray area. That's putting it lightly.
Like, I mean,
They test pigs. Next step is either chimpanzees or humans. Like that's the next step. That's how it works. They're way past rats. They're way past dogs. It's pigs and primates.
yeah, which I mean,
Singularity. It's not 2050, like I said in the last podcast. It's gonna be like 2025. The singularity will happen.
oh my gosh. Like, I mean, like, dude, Elon needs to pump the brakes on that because this is how we get Planet of the Apes.
Bro,
This is how we get Planet of the Apes. But anyway, have you heard about this Operation Midnight Climax?
That sounds so familiar.
So it's like, Midnight Climax was this like, what is his name? George Lazenby. He was the guy directing this stuff, and he was like the head over this like one issue in like the CIA.
Mm-hmm.
Which, I mean, if you want to listen to a good podcast, go listen to the Dollops episode on George Lazenby because it is a trip. But like they had this mission or operation or whatever called Operation Midnight Climax, where he would sit behind a two-way mirror and watch while prostitutes and like other women and all that stuff were drugging homeless men and like just normal Johns and stuff. And they were like, he was watching and seeing if they could gather information that way. And these, mind you, these are private citizens. Like, homeboy didn't know.
Yeah.
Like, he didn't know anything, and like he's just getting drugged. And like the fact, like when they were doing it, Lazenby was like sitting in a bathtub watching it, like very, like it was a one-way glass mirror, like two-way whatever, and he was behind it in like a bathtub.
Just having a ball, just like enjoying himself.
I mean, that's one way of saying it, but yeah. For sure, yeah. That's totally what he's doing.
Sipping mimosas and doing an honest day's work.
Yeah. Yeah, but so like that's one thing that like you think about, and it's like, like if we were to try and apply today's morals to that situation, it doesn't matter. But when you think of like the morals of the early 60s, late 50s, do you know how crippling that would feel, and the amount of like moral guilt and all of these things that they had over those people to keep quiet, like I'll ruin your life type stuff. And the fact that they use that leverage, for sure, 100%, no doubt in my mind, they use that leverage on those people. Mental terrorism. Oh man, it is a trip.
It's yeah, it's a trip. Literally, in many cases, it's literally a trip.
Sure.
I don't know, like when we talk about this kind of stuff, and I think this is why Hollywood has just had a field day with this MKUltra stuff. When you talk about it, it just sounds made up. Like,
right.
And that's the thing. Like, you look back at all these homeless people and prostitutes who were a part of this CIA program of mind control and gathering intel in very unorthodox ways. And they're out on the street and they're like, the CIA has been giving me drugs and experimenting on me. And passerbys are like, okay, sure, buddy. Sure, bud. Like, let's get this guy into the
loony bin,
the cuckoo's nest. But they were right. they were telling the truth.
Well,
That
yeah, and
blew
it's like,
my mind.
well, and the fact that like they would be dosing people so much that they would just be mentally done.
Yeah,
Like I think it's like something like 50 doses and your brain is toast, basically.
yeah,
It's bad. It is so bad. And it's like you hear about this kind of stuff and like the things that grew out of it, like the sodium pentothal, like the fact that they were trying to develop a truth serum and the amount of people that had to die for them to come to the conclusion that, oh, LSD doesn't work. Like, oh crap, back to square one. A lot of our scientists have died doing this, but let's walk away, back to the drawing board, that kind of stuff. But then there's a good part to it,
oh,
that like the counterculture movement came out of this kind of stuff, and like,
yeah,
you know, oh man,
hippies. Gotta love them hippies.
for sure.
Speaking of terrifying, have you ever played the game? Oh wait, you have played the game Outlast. We played it together.
Yeah,
You
it's terrifying.
and it scared the shit out of us. Bro, like that whole it goes into MKUltra territory, and the game is based somewhat off their actual experiments, and it takes a lot of supernatural liberties. Obviously, why wouldn't it? But
Well,
I have the DLC called Whistleblower, and there hasn't been a single video game in my life that has fucked me up more than that. There's like this part where like it's a little bit of a digression, but like this guy like drugs you, and you wake up like butt naked, strapped down to like a table saw. And it's a first person game. It's like you're looking down, you're seeing your penis and balls just out, and this table saw just coming towards you. I'm playing this game just shaking, and then this other dude who wants to kill you comes in and kills that guy, and you break free. And I'm like, that wouldn't happen in real life. That's what fucked me up the most. I'm like, that wouldn't happen in real life. I would get sawed in half from the penis balls up. Anyway, it's about MKUltra. That's what
right.
I was just it's so fucked up. It fucked me up. But it's about MKUltra and
Right.
paperclip.
Well, and like you think about like let's think about Stranger Things for a second.
Yeah.
The fact that people watch shows like Stranger Things and they disassociate the Harris Labs or whatever the name of the laboratory, Hawkins, Indiana or whatever.
Yeah.
But like they disassociate the fact that like the government actually did that stuff. Yeah. They actually put people into vegetative states. They actually did sensory deprivation. They actually did these things. And it seems so outlandish, even to our modern minds, people that have heard this. It's just like, oh, this is pure fantasy. This is pure science fiction. It's not. That was reality for like 20 years. Reality.
According to official CIA docs, they were inconclusively successful with remote viewing, which is crazy. Like the possibility that telepathy, that telepathy is real. I mean, terrible like territory, very unethical, but that's interesting. Kind of cool that like one story I heard is that this dude, he was like drawing pictures in another room, and the guy in this room was like, I think he was on LSD, I don't know, or if he was Men Who Stare at Goats, Jedi. I don't know if you've ever seen that movie. But he very, very successfully, within like a 90% margin of success, guessed what the dude was drawing. But he wouldn't just guess what the object was. He would like draw it out, and then he's like, oh, it's a lawnmower or something like that. It was something like crazy like that. Like he wasn't told beforehand. He was just drawing out what he saw. And he said like he's seeing it so blurry, so he's kind of tracing it in his head, and he just kind of does these things. And they compared the drawings, and it was like so accurate. Like he did such a good job. It was to this day not explained. The CIA legitimately tested that with mild success, and we just don't talk about it because there's no more experiments. We don't do that anymore because it's unethical, but it really
Don't do that
we
anymore.
don't do that, right?
Everything's in quotes. Just like we don't waterboard people in Guantanamo Bay.
Oh my God, I know. Excuse me. That's the thing. The CIA was like, because this MKUltra thing, it came up before. It's been a talking point since the 70s and 80s because that's when the documents leaked originally, 20 years after. I guess it was 10 years after.
It kind of started with like Watergate, and it just kind of was downhill with that because people were like, Watergate was the thing, and all the documents with that were stolen and stuff, and people were like, I want to know what my government's doing because this is shady.
Yeah, and at that point, the CIA denied it. They're like, no, we didn't. Mind control experiments? No. Sometime, I think it was in 2002, 2003, they're like, yeah, we did it. We did that.
Yeah, I mean, like there was the 94 General Accounting Office report that was released.
Mm-hmm.
And then oh man, I mean, I'm on the Wikipedia page right now. There are so many deaths from this. Oh, the name of the guy that I was talking about with that show Wormwood is Frank Olson.
Frank Olson.
Yeah, you should watch that. It's very sad.
I will check it out. I'm just going to get my dog's whining. I'm just going to take their food just right outside this door. I'm not.
Right.
Here you go. Okay, I'm back. Actually, I gotta pee. And I'm back.
Right. So, I mean, like the number of people, amount and number, we're talking about different things. Let's use proper English, Ben. The number of people that actually died doing the MKUltra project is just like incredible. And like the fact that they write it off as a suicide when they were knowingly dosing people and giving them LSD without prior knowledge, no consent. They were like literally, from what I read, is that they were going around at parties. They would get together, they would go up to cabins in the woods, and they would just slip LSD to people in their group. Everyone had it, and they would just dose them. And that is incredibly, incredibly, incredibly amoral and wrong.
Oh yeah.
And the only people that were ever like awarded any money was Frank Olson's family, and they were awarded $750,000 for wrongful death. Right.
Right.
When $750,000 will never compare to having the life of that person.
Right.
It is like the worst consolation prize. It's like not even a pat on the back. It's like you got a participation shoelace or some weird thing like that.
It's the money equivalent of whatever.
Here's some money.
Yeah.
Like granted, it was in the 70s, and that was a lot of money in the 70s. But like, I mean, so it's a lot of money now.
Right.
But still, it is not equivalent to the life of a person.
Right. And it almost seems like, I don't know. Sorry, I keep clearing my throat. Paying someone for killing someone, it's a minimal gesture. I wouldn't say no to money, but like it's almost kind of makes it more fucked up because you just think you can buy someone's life.
Right.
Again, I would take the money. I'm not gonna like say
no.
But I'm gonna take it.
Well, yeah.
But I'm taking the money. But it's just that was fucked up. But you did that. You shouldn't have killed him.
Right.
I mean, in a scenario where you had to give me money.
Like, and I mean, like, the fact that like MK Ultra in itself as an isolated incident, if we were to assume that it was an isolated incident, would be a case study for the times, right? Like a case study on what these social fears of knowing that everyone has nuclear weapons do to people's minds. Like, I mean, the fact that people have these weapons, what are we going to do to prevent these weapons from being used on us? How are we going to get the drop on those people? It is a great social experiment if you say, okay, they only did it for this time, right? But knowing what we know now with the Patriot Act, with like the extension of the Patriot Act, with the NSA, the amount of spying that the federal government does on us currently. And I mean, we're getting into fringe right-wing, like alt-right stuff here, which is not what I'm wanting to do. And I'm not trying to pander to that base, but it is incredibly ignorant for anybody to assume that the government has your best interests in mind, and that they're not doing things like waterboarding people, that they're not doing things like using your cell phone data to map out where you go. Don't you think it's a bit concerning that your iPhone, well, Apple has very good privacy policy, but like in security, but it's concerning that Google knows when you're going home for work,
Right.
and where your home is, and where your school is, and where your work is, and knows where you are to suggest food to you, knows where you are, like, and that's very concerning. What mind experiments are they playing on us akin to MK Ultra now?
That's something I've thought about a lot, and I guess this. I mean, I don't know the full thing about it. It could tie into AI or whatever, but there's this conversation I've had with pretty much everyone where it's like it's weird that I didn't Google this bicycle, but why is it popping up as an ad?
Well, I mean, Alexa's always listening to you. You have an Alexa, right?
I do, Alexa and a Google, and it's just like
it's a big yikes.
Right, exactly. And if this like website, if this like tech company is listening, that's the tip of the iceberg. That's surface level. Like everyone's listening. You know what I mean? Like it's so naive to think otherwise. And I laugh at people who are just like, why don't you just read the user agreement? Or I'm not going to get this because they're going to track me. It's like, they know where you're at, dude. They've been doing that since before the internet. Like,
I'm not going to get a vaccine because Bill Gates is trying to track me.
And it's
homie.
Right. And I think it's very naive of people to just put all this trust in their government.
Right.
Yet they're just like, iPhones, Google, all this. I'm not getting on Alexa. I'm putting a bug in my home. It's like there's already a bug in your pocket.
Right. So like the thing is that like the things that they know about you are like crazy, and like the fact that they buy, like that's what Google does with all their data, is they sell it to the highest bidder. That's what they're doing. And you agree to that. Like I've gotten in the habit of going through the terms and service of everything and saying, I agree or I don't agree. And what's crappy is if you don't agree, you don't get the service. So there was one thing that Andrew Yang was doing where it was like saying that you should get paid by tech companies if you opt into their services because they're getting money off of you. They're getting billions of dollars off of you.
Right. That ties into UBI.
Yeah.
Because they're not taxed, like they're not properly taxed.
Right. And I mean, like, I agree that like if you're agreeing to those terms, but I should also have the option of completely opting out where you don't track me. Granted, again, we are talking about things that are very alt-right, and I'm very hesitant to stay in that kind of realm. But privacy is a thing, and you should be concerned about it. But like, I mean, at the end of the day, we already everyone knows where you're already at. I mean, crap, we even had phone books for a very long time.
With your address in it.
Right.
That
So it's like everyone knew.
That reminds me. Remember when we found Sasquatch in the notebook in the
Yeah.
book, and we'd always prank call Sasquatch, and they're just like, Sasquatch doesn't live here.
I'm not Sasquatch.
I'm not. Why do you keep calling me Sasquatch? It's like you're in the phone book as Sasquatch.
As Sasquatch.
Like, why wouldn't we call you? We're
Like,
your biggest fans.
Please come home.
Come home, Sasquatch. So
But like, I mean, this is a pretty heavy topic, and it's pretty hard to grasp the minutia of everything in like a hour-long video. But like, at the end of the day, it's very concerning, and you should be skeptical of your government, any government.
Mm-hmm.
This isn't just an American thing. The Canadians do it. The Mexicans do it. The Filipinos do it. They do it. Heck, the Filipinos do it worse than anybody else. President Duterte, or whatever he is, Duerte, or I don't know how to say his name, but he's out there like straight up executing drug dealers in the streets. Like, homeboy is like really serious.
Right. And in terms of a lack of privacy, I think the UK takes the cake.
Oh, for sure. Black Mirror wouldn't be that successful if it wasn't so relevant.
That's right. It's they're the ones who are the most concerned about it, and rightfully so. They've kind of always been like that. The CCTV, like all that going on. Yeah, and talk about all the censorship, like in, I guess a lot of countries, China, I guess America a little bit too, but yeah, there's just so much going on that like it's just naive to think that like that these things aren't going on, that our privacy exists, that there's not still experiments going on. I'm pretty sure, like, just anecdotal, I guess. We're part of a big social experiment. That's what this is.
I mean, social media for sure.
Like we previously talked about, Ashton Kutcher's behind it.
Oh yeah, we're all being punked right now. But like I think about it, it's like, like what drugs are they pushing? Like the whole opioid crisis. The whole opioid crisis was like a very, very akin to like what how LSD happened.
Right.
It was like federally sanctioned. It's like, oh, give it to them, it's fine, because they pushed it. And like, what things that we don't know about are being pushed to us and are actually playing a bigger purpose. Like, I was reading an article the other day about how Apple and the NSA developed their own iPod.
Are you serious?
For real. They developed their own iPod. It had to function like a normal iPod. It had to do all this stuff, and then it had to be able to, like, I think it was like scan things and like be able to pick up other data and all that stuff while the people were like walking through factories and stuff like that. Like, legitimately, that stuff, like, there's a whole Twitter thread, and I'll send it to you after the podcast, but like, there was a whole Twitter thread of a guy that worked at Apple, like, yeah, those days were cool.
And I feel like not enough people talk about the NSA. Like, it seems like the attention was shifted to the FBI because there's that meme, like, the FBI agent that's assigned to me, that's watching me, like their face when I'm doing this. But like the NSA, it's their whole job to look at you,
Yeah, you
like
specifically.
Webcam, and you're not the only one watching me right now.
Oh yeah, it's like the fact that like it is commonplace in our culture now to all put like a Post-it note over our webcams.
Mm-hmm.
That is crazy that we're conditioned to do that. Mm-hmm. That we're like, oh, someone's watching, so cover up myself.
And here's the thing. I don't even worry about the NSA looking at me. They've seen every angle of me, and I'm sure they have better things to do. I'm just Googling slime all day, just pictures of Nickelodeon figured out slime. But it's hackers I worry about. I've seen terrifying videos of hackers hacking baby monitors. That became a real fear of mine recently.
As it should be.
Right. And oh my God, it's so scary because like the audio works both ways. So like I've seen videos of just like the baby monitor flicks on and they're like, "Hi, little one." And they start singing to the baby. The mom and dad walk in terrified, like with like their gun or a bat. Like, who is that? And they like see the baby monitor and it's just like, "I'm gonna kill your baby," and just like some weird stuff like that. And that's what I'm really
Usually it's like a 15, 16-year-old kid being a troll.
absolutely. But like
It's still terrifying.
it's kind of like that thing where you just like you see someone looking in your window.
Mm-hmm.
You know, your doors might be locked or whatever, but it's just a
It's disconcerting.
Yeah.
And I mean, nowadays it's even more so. It's like I said in the previous podcast, like the more I learn about technology, the more it scares me because it's like I don't have the privacy that my parents had and my grandparents had.
That's true. And we signed up for it. I mean, at this point, we don't have a choice.
Yeah.
We don't have a choice at this point. There's no such thing as a millennial who's off the grid.
Right. I mean, there's definitely some like tightening up that they could do on the internet. There for sure is. Like, ideally, and I mean, this is a great business idea that I've thought of like, man, why don't I start a business where if you want your information ripped from the internet and no one can see it, pay me.
Right.
I'll rip it from the internet and you will be a ghost. You know, that would probably make a lot of money. If it already isn't a thing. Probably is a thing.
They have those VPNs now, and I'm just wondering, because everyone's always selling them. You know, everyone's always just selling, and it just seems like this whole other like process. I'm just like,
it's not worth it because at the end of the day, you're not going to the dark web or even like the off-color web. Like, to be real, the only people that would need a VPN, nobody needs it actually. Nobody needs it because if you're in the government, you're on an intranet where it's already closed circuit. No one can get at it.
They call it the Marianas Web. It's
Mhm.
deeper than the dark web, and they can see everything.
Right.
So there's no point in having it. I mean, I guess VPN's more aimed towards corporations, but if that's the case, those aren't even the people you want to worry about anyway.
Yeah, I mean, even then, they know, like, if you're logged into your Google account,
yeah,
they're getting your data anyway, dude.
Yeah.
You're stupid.
It's like interesting because I see people using VPNs mostly to just like get Netflix movies or shows that they can't get in their country. It seems like a popular selling point.
And I mean, eventually they're going to crack down on VPNs like they did with like LimeWire back when we were kids, and like they will crack down on it because it doesn't make people money. But like in essence, a VPN does nothing because people say, "Oh, I have more privacy with a VPN." That's not true because people that run VPN companies can still be subpoenaed by the federal government to give that information, what IP address you were assigned and what port you were going through and like all that stuff. Again, whoever's listening to this, I'm not trying to scare you. I just have an understanding of this.
Whoever's listening to this, don't be naive. You should have already known this stuff.
Yeah, like, come on, dude. It's 2020.
Here's the thing, though. Like, it's every 6 months that there's like a viral Facebook post or Twitter like, "Don't download this app. They're spying on you. They're stealing your information." It's like, do we have short-term memory loss? Guys, no shit. Like, I'm at the point. See, here's the thing. I've always said this. Like, the moment I logged on, I think my dad scared me into believing this because it's true. No one's more paranoid than him. And he's right. He's absolutely right. Because the moment I logged on the internet, he's like, "Everybody can find you now. Everybody knows where you're at right now." I'm like, oh.
Yeah, you're an open port.
And that's the thing, you know. I've always believed that you get on the internet, there goes your privacy. It's gone. And like at this point in time, I'm so apathetic about it. I'm really like, there's, 300 million people in America alone, billions, 7 billion worldwide.
There's 6 billion searches a day on.
The most boring person alive. Like, nobody's watching me right now. It's a stream of data. Like, it's not like some weird creep is just staring at you right now. There's not enough people in the world to do that. It's just a data stream. They look for like keywords. I'm not gonna pretend like I know how it works, but I know for a fact that like I'm not scared of. I'm just apathetic and over it that the government is watching.
Well,
I'm worried about hackers who will steal with malicious intent that affects me more.
Right.
But on a more like basic level of stealing my identity, my money,
Well, and I mean, like, that's one, when you connect to the internet, you use something called an Ethernet cable. Right. So you are literally, when you connect to the internet, you are in the ether of the internet.
Ooh.
Which is what it really means, is that you've opened a port into this vast space where like there's no anonymity. Like anyone that says you're anonymous on the internet, even anonymous, are not anonymous.
Sorry, 4chan.
Yeah, sorry, 4chaners. Channers. But like, it's just like, I'm the same way. It's like I'm at the point in my life where it's like I don't have a lot of apps on my phone. I don't use my phone for like what normal people do. I don't sign up for games on it. Like normally I am pretty like I'll download an audiobook. I'll go on a walk, listen to a podcast, or play guitar. I mean, if y'all want to know what guitar songs I'm playing, I'll tell you right now. I'm not playing any of them because they suck. But like, there's not really a reason to be scared of the government because the search history that you're doing is cleared after like 90 days or like max is 180 days, I think. With the ISPs, your information like that's cleared. Because you have to think, how do people store this data? Like they can't just, it's not infinite. Storage is not infinite. It's finite. I mean, the government's scary. Let's just cut to the BS. That's the point of this. I'm not going to give you a lesson on internet theory. Yeah, the government's scary.
And it's naive to believe otherwise. That's why, people just, and it's Republicans of all people just believing everything Trump says that I find very, very odd because the whole like fundamental Republican belief is like limited government, don't trust your government, collect guns because somebody in the government's going to come attack you, whatever, and individual freedoms and just self-governing and stuff like that. The whole thing's flipped. The whole thing is absolutely flipped. And I think on the next episode, the next few episodes, I don't know how much MKUltra stuff we're going to get into. If we want to like even extend that further, there's a lot to talk about. Or
there's a lot to unpack.
Yeah, a lot to unpack. But sometime in the future, I want to go into the cult thing and just the mentality of it. So just briefly, it's really interesting how these people just trust the government and trust Trump and everything he says, and it's very it's interesting. It's very naive, and I don't think there's a single government on earth that you can put your full trust in. And I don't think there's any candidate, Republican or Democrat alike, that you can just put your trust in. It does not matter. They don't care about you. It's
a uniquely human problem.
Right, yeah.
Man.
That like behind you doesn't have to worry about it.
Yeah. He just seems concerned.
He's a little naive about the lack of privacy, though. He is on his webcam.
He's just like, no, he's looking at his friend and he's like, I'm recording this and they don't know.
It looks like he's doing this thing, like kind of just looking over at you.
Yeah.
And he's just like, and his friend on the camera just trying not to laugh, like, what are they talking about?
But like, I mean, like I think the whole thing that we're doing now with the podcast and like the fact that it's loosely political. Because politics is a huge part of our lives.
It is.
And it's loosely political, but like at the end of the day, it's like there's so much cooler stuff to talk about than politics. And I really want to get into the whole cult thing that we were talking about earlier. And I think, well, in like, for instance, the cult of behind like Back the Blue and stuff.
Speaking of, yeah.
Oh man, like, go for it.
Well, I was just, okay. I had a brain fart. My brain's been very gassy lately, if you couldn't tell. We're doing this a little later than usual, I think. But what was I going to say? Oh, this is kind of off topic, moving away from the cult stuff, because we're talking about the dog, and I just had like a weird thought. It goes back to the whole mind control thing. And the Elon Musk thing, because he put the neural link in the pig's head, and a lot of that is like brain-to-brain communication. That stuff interests me. The brain-to-brain communication. You've seen those like nets they put on their head with all the wires and stuff, and they could like it's like virtual digital telepathy in a way, and you can communicate your brain to a computer. And I find that so interesting. And to an extent, what they can do is they can put that thing on your head and actually like pull up an image of what you're seeing with limited success. It's very blurry. They did it on a cat, and I want to screen share the video. It's so like I don't want to spoil it. If I can even find it. Is this even the right video? Yeah, it is. Okay. This is trippy balls, dude. I'm pretty sure it's real. Who knows? Who knows? I'm fairly certain.
We will be able to measure and understand how our brain cells function. Deciphering our consciousness is another question, but the experiments of Dr. Yang Dan have proved that in principle, it is possible to read and to understand the brain.
I didn't know that we started this thing again. So this is a digitized movie. We present this to the animal, and we record the activity of their visual neurons. And these electrical signals that we recorded from will travel through these cables.
She managed to tap the vision from the brain of a cat and to reconstruct what the cat sees onto a computer screen.
So this is a digitized movie. This particular movie is a short clip from Indiana Jones, I think.
Here we see the two images next to each other. On the left, the image that was shown to the cat. At the right, the image that is tapped out of the cat's brain.
The picture has a lot of random flickering, the noise. That's probably the
what in the world?
Neurons.
That's so weird.
It sometimes fire spontaneous spikes. We consider those noise, but maybe they reflect something else, maybe the thoughts or something. But we
It's a little bit more terrifying.
We use all thinking that they represent visual information. This is the reconstruction that we come up with.
What in the world?
It is the first time an image was tapped from her brain. It proves that we can read and understand the grammar of it. The face is recognizable, but I still can't avoid the impression that the face has something cat-like.
That video again. I don't know. Take it with a grain of salt because I'm not 100% sure if it's real. Very cool if it is. It looks like it's real. But what gets me at the very end is when he's just like, I can't help thinking, but the man in this image looks weirdly cat-like. And I'm like, that's big if true. Imagine if cats just see everyone with cat faces just walking around. Just imagine being a cat and it's just like, that's why they stare at us. They're just like, because they just like, we look at them and we're just cats.
Everything is a cat.
Yeah. Even like the buildings, like a big house is a cat. Everything's a cat.
So I'm in the middle of, not this guy. I'm not trying to give this guy a freaking base, but we're looking at the Tsar Bomba.
Oh yeah.
It doesn't look real.
Oh, yes. "43 miles in the sky. 43 miles. It reached the upper atmosphere."
The level of fallout.
Oh yeah, yeah. And it's interesting. They had to detonate it so high up in the air in order to avoid that, and they probably didn't.
Yeah, they definitely didn't.
They definitely didn't.
This is Mother Russia that we're talking about. They cut corners on basic things like shoes. So we know for a fact that. Oh, we're still sharing my screen.
Checking your emails for you.
Yeah, no worries. I don't know
Ooh,
how to
what's
stop.
that?
Stop sharing. That's a map.
Oh.
That's what I do. That's my job.
Oh. But yeah.
Actually, there's actually mesquite. So.
Oh really?
It's not that important.
You're right. Mesquite isn't important at all. It's
I
not.
mean, Kelsey would agree.
Yeah. In terms of places I consider important, it's not up there.
It is lower level. It's third tier.
If you take that clip out of context, you look at like footage of an atomic bomb and then cut to that place isn't important.
You should do that.
Yeah.
That's how that should be. It's not important.
It's like, don't let the CIA see this.
Oh, man.
A full circle there.
But yeah, man, like I think obviously MKUltra is a very deep topic, and conspiracy theories in general and like cryptozoology and like all of these things are very deep topics that we should obviously cover further.
Because we barely scratched the surface of it, and we went on so many tangents.
This is the king of ADD.
But we barely tapped into politics. That's it.
Barely.
Yeah.
Which is nice.
It's nice. It's refreshing. I have so much to say about that, but
it's fine. I mean,
we got to talk.
We did, huh?
At some point, we got to talk about this new CDC update.
Oh yeah, the pictures that your people have.
People, they're my people. Unfortunately,
your people have shared, and like, oh, the numbers are skewed now. I wonder why. Oh, maybe the fact that the numbers go to the White House first and then to the CDC, and that we can skew data that way.
They recently took control of it, and even the scientists at CDC said the numbers are going to be skewed from now on. They said it's completely politically motivated.
Right. And like, I mean, also the fact that like Trump is preventing Pelosi, like, I don't like using these names, Trump and Pelosi. It makes me feel like a politicized person, which I am, but I'm not doing that on purpose. But like President Trump has prevented the intelligence community from actually talking about how Russia and China and all of these countries that could potentially be interfering in our election, he's prevented them from talking to the National Security Council in Congress.
Interesting.
So that's a big deal. If you don't know about it, yeah, guess what? He's hiding stuff. Yeah.
Again, going back to the whole don't trust your government, idiot. Don't be naive. Don't trust them.
Like, I mean, I'm a Democrat. Outing myself, I'm a registered Democrat.
Yeah, same.
And I don't trust Joe Biden on fundamental levels.
No. And I hate that because all these Trump supporters are like sharing a video. Do you really want this guy as president? And I come in ready to defend him. I watch the video and I'm like,
no. But I don't want the Oompa Loompa up there. I don't want him.
The fucking troll. He's a troll. What is he?
He's
something.
sad. It's to the point where trying to make jokes about it makes me sadder.
Yeah, it's like smiling through the pain, tear rolling down your cheek.
It's very John Wayne Gacy esque.
Oh, what I was going to say though, back to the CDC thing. From now on, the White House is going to be in charge of data. That's like the new thing. But I love that all of these Trump supporters are citing these weird numbers. They're just like, oh, they just admitted that 6% of deaths are actually the coronavirus, and all these other numbers are not. And I love that because it clearly states 6% of the deaths are only coronavirus. And someone shared that, and they like, look, see right there, crystal clear, only in all caps. And I'm like, that means 94%, and it says this clearly in the next sentence, 94% have pre-existing conditions. And all these guys are just like, aha, so it was the flu. I've heard that so many times, like, that is not what that means.
Black people are violent naturally.
Right, they look for opportunities, and they just like, no, no. Pre-existing conditions are like, it's like autoimmune diseases, cancer, obesity, pregnancy. Pregnancy is like, stay away from us.
Coronavirus.
And that's
and
the
fish.
thing. Yeah, and that is 94% of the coronavirus deaths. The fact that 6% of them didn't have those is terrifying. Thank you for proving that point accidentally. 94% have pre-existing conditions. You know, nothing's changed. We already knew that. The conversation's gone full circle, except this time the Republicans are citing the CDC instead of liberals. And we're just like, we've been saying that since the beginning, but now you're just misunderstanding the data because they rephrased it. And by the way, yeah, Trump is going to start changing things, and that should terrify you.
Right. It's just like we said about this whole cult thing. You know, it really is like Trump has a cult of personality. It's the strongman mentality. It's this neo-fascism type aura. And you know what? I'll go on record. Trump's a fascist. Anyone on YouTube that's watching this, Trump's a fascist. Good job. Like, if you don't know it, now you do. Like, look up what a definition of a fascist is. Like,
it's something you hate saying out loud because you know how you sound. You're like, oh, I'm calling Trump a fascist. I sound like everyone who's calling him a fascist. It's like,
I sound like 90% of the people in the country right now.
Yeah, but like, he checks the boxes. And it might be fascist light. It might be. It's not. Hitler.
It's diet fascism.
It's diet fascist. That's what he is. Diet fascist, because he's so covertly racist. He's not. I'm not even gonna say that. He's not covertly racist. He's obviously.
He's overtly racist.
He's overtly racist. He's covertly authoritarian.
He's an idiot.
he's an idiot, but like, I think it's more accurate to say he tries to be covert. But his following, the cult-like mentality, they're just like, yeah, I don't see a problem. But we're like, bro, we see you right there. We see you there. We see you standing there. You know? Stop trying to hide. It's like playing hide and seek. We're like, dude, you're in the same spot every single time. We can see your feet. Get out behind the curtain. You're not sneaking.
You're the worst hider.
Yes, you're the worst hider, dude. Like, I'm just hiding that racism back there.
I mean, it's just like, I get so angry because it's like I've made these arguments over and 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 over again. Like the fact that people are not willing to like make logical concessions. Like, if you were to see like some of the arguments that I've made, I've been personally able to try and find common ground. Mm-hmm. Where can we unite under this issue? Like all these stuff, debating techniques and all that stuff that you learn in school.
Right.
You learn how to think in school, and then people come at you with, you're overeducated. Well, yeah.
Okay. That is such a cult thing, though. They try to limit your education. I said this before. I saw on Twitter #defund education, and my brain stopped working. So they accomplished their goal.
It just
it broke
delete.
it just broke me. I'm like, these people are actually trying to censor education. They don't want you to go to college. They don't want you. And they say that their argument is like, colleges are liberal. Is that where you learn that shit? From a liberal school? Every school is liberal, and they don't want you to learn.
I went to a
Because
religious
common
education
sense.
university.
Right. And one of my favorite talking points is just like, oh, you think there's more than one or more than two genders? You must have gone to college. It's like, yeah, that's funny you should say that. That's exactly where I learned that, in psychology, in sociology,
In real life, dumbass.
in journalism, where we learned to address people by their proper pronouns. This wasn't 5 years ago. This was maybe
10 years ago.
It was almost 10 years ago.
Okay.
We can wrap this up if you want.
Yeah. Anyway, hug it out, guys. Next week, I think next week we should start off right where we stop here.
Right.
Let's start off like talking about from right here.
We blame it on Patrick.
But 100% on Patrick.
100%.
It's all your fault.
Yeah. I can't believe he made me double book like that.
Oh my gosh.
What is this called?
Get your stuff together, man.
Get your shit together, man.
Anyway, love, man.
Peace.